The decline of Rome was the natural and inevitable effect of immoderate greatness. Prosperity ripened the principle of decay. The cause of the destruction multiplied with the extent of conquest, and, as soon as time or accident and removed the artificial supports, the stupendous fabric yielded to the pressure of its own weight. The story of the ruin is simple and obvious. Instead of inquiring why the Roman Empire was destroyed, we should rather be surprised that it has subsisted for so long. Edward Gibbon. Every empire collapses eventually. Some do not endure long, such as the powerful kingdom of Macedonia. Others, such as the Roman Empire, slowly degraded. Although the Roman Empire dissolved, its influence lasted a millennia, until its final fall to the Ottomans in 1453. But why did the Roman Empire fall? Well, it's not that simple, because it's a combination of various circumstances and events that led to their demise. Historians have debated the reason for the empire's downfall. Edward Gibbon, well known for his work on the fall and decline of the Roman Empire, stated that Christianity had a major part in the empire's destruction. Modern historians disagree with this viewpoint and identify alternative sources. Alexander Demand listed 210 distinct hypotheses for why Rome fell. So yeah, there's a lot. Many macro-environmental factors contributed to the eventual fall of Rome. One such factor is the financial crisis which occurred a lot during the 3rd century. The Sassanid Empire inflicted 3 major defeats on the Romans and would linger for centuries as a prime enemy. Repeated civil wars, barbarian invasions, and mass mortality from the plague of Cyprian economically trickled the empire. Although the empire survived the crisis of the 3rd century, it had to direct its economy towards defense. But survival came at the price of a more centralized and bureaucratic state, with the ascension of Diocletian and the Dominate. During the Tetrarchy, excessive military expenditure, coupled with civil wars due to unstable succession, caused an increase in taxes to the detriment of the industry. During the reign of Constantine, the cities lost their revenue from local taxes, and under Constantius II, the endowments of property. This caused the existing services provided by the city to be abandoned and scamped, while trying to keep the city councils up to date. Public building projects declined since the 2nd century due to funds being privately funded rather than by the state. The sheer size of the Roman Empire and over-expansionism also contributed to its eventual downfall. The West was much more vulnerable to barbarian invasions, while the East had a much better strategic position with natural protection. The narrowest sea crossing to its core territory was protected from the northern barbarians by the fortification and the sea and land forces of Constantinople, while the European frontier, from the mouth of the Rhine to that of the Danube, is some 2,000 kilometers, and could be crossed with much less difficulty. The climactic crisis is another important driver for the collapse of Rome. The Roman warm period was a period of unusually warm weather in Europe and the North Atlantic. Between 200 BC and AD 150, Rome enjoyed the warm weathers, allowing them to grow agriculture, easier army recruitment, and straightforward tax collection. The access to the Mediterranean, with pirate-free seas, allowed them to enjoy an abundance of trade. However, from AD 150, the climate would get worse for the inhabitants. Disease would be unleashed into the empire due to interconnected disease ecology created by sea trading, allowing for pandemics to contribute to mass death, economic crises, and food shortages. Many events occurred during the lifetime of the empire, which were substantially adverse to its longevity, and I believe 2 of them were the most significant in contributing to the collapse of the empire. The barbarian invasion in the 4th century, which was a subsequent event of the Hunnic invasion of Europe, is determined to be a compelling case for the eventual downfall of the empire. The Germanic tribes were forced to flee west from the Huns, since the land was being ravaged. A lot of Goths would flee near the Danube River and reside there hoping to cross into Roman territory. Valens permitted the passage to Rome, hoping to exploit the men as prospective new warriors at a minimal cost. This choice was devastating since the Goths would revolt, because the Romans could not feed them with adequate food, owing to Roman logistics being unable to cope with the substantial number of Goths. The famished migrants had grown into a formidable force. It put Valens into a frenzy, because he needed to assemble the army to defeat the barbarians. In 378, the Roman army faced the Goths at the Battle of Adrianople, which was disastrous for the Romans because the army was massacred after being surrounded by Gothic horsemen. The slaughter of Romans is regarded as the worst Roman loss and served as a trigger for Roman collapse, as the Goths under Alaric sacked Rome in 410 and subsequently conquered the area, bringing an end to the Western Roman Empire. Another critical event for the fall of Rome was the crisis of the 3rd century, which saw the empire nearly collapsing. During this time, at least 26 people claimed the title of emperor. The anarchy began with Severus Alexander's assassination and lasted 50 years. During this time, there was governmental instability, several civil wars, rebellions, and barbarian invasions. As a result of the chaos, the economy collapsed and the currency depreciated. The Cyprian plague made a significant contribution to the condition. It was a dreadful moment for the Romans, and it would undoubtedly lead to the destruction without the intervention of the great Aurelian, who during his brief 4-year rule managed to subdue the revolts and unify the empire back to one. The late Roman Empire was a tragic time to be alive. History tends to repeat itself, and the Roman Empire is no exception. An empire which grew to consolidate its power and hold world dominion, to slowly turn from a monarchy and decay into a tyranny.